I was standing at the altar, feeling the familiar, suffocating weight of my bridal gown. My fiancé, Julian, held my hands. His touch was cold, his smile manufactured. The officiant was asking if I took this man to be my lawfully wedded husband. And then, the sound cue, a sharp electronic pop, as the venue's massive projector screen, meant to display a pastel floral monogram, flickered. The room went silent. The screen didn't return to the monogram. Instead, it flashed, Exhibit A, Transaction Log, Project Nightingale. Then, a detailed spreadsheet appeared, showing 6 massive wire transfers, all dated 3 months prior. The amount was exactly $450,000. And the sender? My father's company account. The funds were marked luxury venue deposit, bridal gown payment, groom's investment account fund. Julian's face went white. The gasp that swept through the room was seismic. I didn't flinch. I just looked at him, standing there exposed in the sacred light of the ceremony, and I gave him the smallest, iciest smile I could manage. I didn't need vows. The truth was my closure. Hello, everyone. I'm Elara. I'm 30 years old, and I'm a forensic accountant. And today, I'm sharing the story of the day I used my skills to orchestrate the most satisfying, devastating, and perfectly timed act of public justice imaginable. This isn't a story about a misunderstanding. This is a story about calculated greed, deep betrayal, and the toxic confidence of a man who thought his charm could cover his crimes. We all know the pain of being underestimated. We all know the humiliation of realizing the person you trusted most was only using you. But when you realize the betrayal is not just of your heart, but of your family's financial security, the game changes. The emotional arc here is critical. The terror of discovery, the cold determination of the planning, and the exquisite relief of the climax. So, let's begin. If you've ever had to keep a devastating secret to ensure justice was served, if you've ever traded tears for strategy, please hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for a deep dive into the numbers that brought a wedding crashing down. I met Julian when I was 27. He was everything I thought I wanted: charismatic, handsome, and impeccably polished. He spoke about ambition, about starting his own firm, about building a grand life together. My family, comfortable but traditional, loved him. My father, specifically, saw him as a driven young man who just needed a bit of a financial leg up. I was, professionally, a forensic accountant. My job was finding the needle in the financial haystack, the hidden transactions, the laundered money, the paper trails of deceit. Ironically, my professional training made me blind to the deception right under my nose. I saw numbers, I didn't see people. Until it was too late. Paragraph. The planning for our wedding was extravagant, mostly pushed by Julian. He insisted on the most expensive venue, the most famous florist, the most exclusive caterer. I felt uneasy about the cost. But Julian waved it away. It's a reflection of our future, Elara, he'd say, flashing that dazzling empty smile. We deserve the best. My parents offered a substantial dowry, a tradition in our family, meant to secure our future home purchase. The money, a large sum, was placed into a joint account months before the wedding. The first crack in the facade appeared 3 months before the wedding. My father called me, sounding stressed. Elara, I need your help. A client of mine, Mr. Thorne, is requesting an audit of his company's accounts. There's been a large, unexplained outgoing transfer, nearly $500,000. It seems to have been redirected into a blind investment fund. I took the file home, eager to help my dad. As I dug through the digital ledger, The details were nauseatingly familiar. The shell company names, the routing method, the date of the transfer. I cross-referenced the transaction date with Julian's calendar. That same week, Julian had suddenly, miraculously, managed to secure the last-minute booking for the Palace View venue and paid the massive vendor deposits in full. A cold, heavy dread settled in my stomach. No, it couldn't be. I opened the joint account ledger. The dowry money was gone, completely drained. I spent the next 48 hours in a silent, obsessive frenzy, tracing the stolen funds. My forensic accountant skills went from professional tool to personal weapon. I found every single transfer. Transfer 1, $150,000 to the Palace View venue. Transfer 2, $80,000 to Trent's personal brokerage account labeled seed investment. Transfer 3, $50,000 to a personal loan repayment. He hadn't just taken the money. He had used my family's funds, stolen from my father's client, to pay for his own wedding and clear his debts. He wasn't marrying me for love. He was marrying me for the dowry he had already stolen. When I confirmed the full picture, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt something far colder and sharper. Shame and lethal resolve. The shame wasn't just his betrayal. It was mine. I was a professional investigator of lies, and I hadn't seen the lie sleeping next to me every night. I had to act, but I couldn't just walk away. If I confronted him, he would deny it, destroy the evidence, and use his considerable legal leverage, paid for by my father's stolen funds, to ruin my family's name. My father would be implicated in the theft. I had to secure justice, and I had to make the shame his and his alone. The turning point was immediate. I decided the wedding would proceed. I would become the perfect smiling bride. My silence would be my strategy. I became the master of deception. I played the role flawlessly. I smiled at Julian, let him hold my hand, talked about our future home. Every interaction was a lie, a performance. I felt a constant, low-level thrum of nausea, but I used my professional detachment to suppress the emotional pain. My plan was methodical, brutal, and simple. The wedding itself would be the stage. The projector, meant to celebrate our union, would be the murder weapon. I used my skills to create a secure, encrypted folder containing every single piece of evidence. The initial wire transfer from Thorne's company, the tracing of the funds into Julian's accounts, and the final transfers to the vendors. I labeled it Project Nightingale. Next, I leveraged my wedding planner connections. I learned that the venue manager handled the AV setup, using his personal laptop to display the monogram and play the pre-selected music cues. 2 days before the wedding, I offered the venue manager an extra $5,000 tip to handle a surprise slideshow I wanted to show Julian after the vows. I prepared a simple flash drive, meticulously coded. It contained the real slideshow, a sequence of flattering photos, but it also contained an undetectable high-priority script. The script's job was simple. When the music cue for the vows hit, the script would open a hidden window, minimize the existing presentation, connect to the venue's internal network, which I had already secured the access code for, and initiate a 20-second sequence. Frame 1. A brief flash of the floral monogram to look like a technical error. Frame 2. A full-screen display of the Project Nightingale transaction log. Frame 3. A loop of the 4 most damning wire transfers, cross-referenced with vendor names, displayed in bold 40-point red font. Frame 4. The script auto-closes, The screen reverts to black, then the music key for the vows continues. The genius lay in the timing. It had to happen at the exact moment of commitment. The moment he was about to swear loyalty. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. I walked around my parents' house, the quiet hum of the air conditioning the only sound. I felt like a bomb waiting to go off. I wasn't scared of the consequences anymore. I was scared of my own coldness. I was about to destroy a man publicly, and I felt nothing but grim satisfaction. The wedding morning arrived. The air was thick with humidity and the cloying smell of roses. I was dressed, veiled, and ready. I looked in the mirror and I saw a stranger in a wedding dress, a sleek, determined weapon. I walked down the aisle. The music swelled. I looked at Julian. He was smiling, confident. He thought he had won. He thought he had married his financial security. We reached the altar. The officiant began the ceremony. Julian held my hands. I felt the gold wedding band cold against my palm. The officiant: "Do you, Julian, take this woman, Elara, to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Julian began his rehearsed beautiful vows. He spoke of trust, of commitment, of building a future. Every word was an arrow of contempt I lodged silently into my own memory. Then came my turn. The officiant smiled at me. "And do you, Elara, take this man, Julian, to be your lawfully wedded husband?" I opened my mouth. But before I could speak the first syllable, pop! The screen flashed. The lights dimmed slightly. The music stuttered. The floral monogram vanished. Then, the red text: Project Nightingale. The hall was silent. Everyone was looking up. My father, sitting in the front row, shielded his eyes from the glare. The transaction logs flashed. The numbers, the terrifying, irrefutable numbers, and the descriptions. Stolen funds for Palace View deposit. Groom's investment account fund. The display sequence was 20 seconds of pure, unfiltered, calculated truth. Julian's eyes were locked on the screen. His handsome face crumbled, first into confusion, then into stark, naked terror. The noise in the room started as a low, collective murmur, then swelled into a frantic wave of gasps and shocked whispers. The script completed its run. The screen went black. The music cue for my vows finally kicked in, jarringly cheerful. Silence returned. All eyes were on us. Julian turned to me. His eyes were wide, pleading, trying to find a lie. I looked at him. I had rehearsed this moment for 3 months. "No," I said, my voice cutting through the silence like a scalpel. "I do not." Julian opened his mouth to deny it. But before he could speak, my father, now standing, pointed a trembling finger at the screen. "That money, that's Thorne's money. That's the missing transfer." The scene erupted into chaos. Julian's parents rushed the altar, trying to pull him away. My father was shouting. I took the microphone. I ignored Julian, who was now desperately trying to grab my arm. "The wedding is over," I announced. My voice steady, powerful, amplified across the hall. "The evidence you just saw is real. The gentleman standing beside me stole nearly $500,000 from a client and used it to pay for this wedding. The authorities have been alerted." I dropped the microphone. It hit the marble floor with a dull thud. Julian lunged at me, his terror morphing into desperate fury. Before he could reach me, 2 plainclothes officers whom I had discreetly placed among the staff moved in and pinned his arms behind his back. As they led him away, Julian screamed my name. "You traitor! You set me up! I loved you!" I looked at him, surrounded by the ruined flowers and the shocked, disgusted faces of the wedding guests. I smiled. It is the only genuine expression I had worn all day. "No, Julian," I said, loud enough for him to hear over the din. "I didn't set you up. I just finished your audit." The moment the handcuffs clicked, the coldness in my chest broke, replaced by a surge of pure electric relief. I walked away from the altar, past the stunned guests, my wedding gown feeling lighter than air. The rest was paperwork, but the justice was immediate. The viral video of the technical error and the subsequent arrest secured his downfall. The financial records were undeniable. My father was cleared of any suspicion, and Julian faced immediate fraud charges. The sweetest part of the revenge was the control. I didn't lose my mind. I took his. I didn't use emotion. I used logic. I had turned his arrogant confidence, his belief that he could charm his way out of anything, into his biggest vulnerability. I never needed his vows. I didn't want his love. I wanted the truth. And I got it, broadcast on a 20-foot screen in front of everyone who mattered to him. That moment of stark realization on his face that he had been completely, utterly outsmarted by the woman he thought was merely a prize was the ultimate closure. When I first discovered the betrayal, I thought my life was over. I thought the shame would stick to me forever. But I realized that betrayal is just information. It's a data point. And as a forensic accountant, I knew how to process data. The hardest part of revenge is having the patience to wait for the perfect moment. But I learned that a clean, cold, strategically executed plan is far more powerful than any emotional outburst. Julian thought he was dealing with a heartbroken bride. He was dealing with an auditor. The truth is the most expensive thing you can buy. And sometimes you have to engineer the moment for the truth to be displayed. I didn't just save my family's fortune and reputation. I saved myself from a lifetime of being married to a lie. If this story gave you chills, or if you believe in the power of using logic and knowledge to serve justice, smash that like button. And tell me in the comments, what is the most satisfying intellectual revenge you've ever witnessed or carried out? Let's celebrate being the smart one in the room. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, stay sharp and always trust the numbers.